Hello everyone, this is Stab here. I decided to do another fair video about Spike. Ever since back in season 1, episode 1. If it throughout the entire season though, the entire show's history, we have seen Spike being breathing fire as basically any other dragons in the show can do. But there is one thing that Spike has been doing differently. That he can actually send scrolls to Celestia or Cadence, for respect, by using his fire ability. But there is the question here to be asked. How does it even work? Is that some extra magical spell that has been put on Spike, or is he's unique with his fire ability, or is it possible that every single dragon can do this? So the more the being questioned, which are the three sorry, which are the three possibilities is it? And is it that some pony like Celestia have put a spell on Spike so that he will be able to send letters to Celestia from Twilight? Or that he was just uniquely born with this ability? Or the third possibility that every single dragon has this ability? Even we've been seeing lesser focus on every single theory. The first one, ever since that Twilight had Spike, we don't see that even that Spike did even his Spike was put on the spell on this ability. But there was actually never how to say put to use. Ever since Twilight became accepted as Celestia's personal student. Because even doing so that sorry but during that particular time though, Twilight didn't have necessary to be using Spike to send scrolls to Celestia, ever since she was studying under her in Canterlot. But since after she moved to Ponyville, even though she first thought it was going to be temporary staying only for a short time, but after she stayed there permanently, it seems that ever since after they moved there, Spike had been using his fire ability to send scrolls to Celestia, to updating her on her friendship lessons and other things. So is it a possibility that Celestia could put a spell on Spike shortly before they departed to Ponyville? And that during that time, Spike didn't have that particular ability at first. Does it make sense? I mean, if you think about it. So, but if Celestia did do that, did she inform Twilight about this ability that she, instead of using the regular mail office, the post office, that she could use Spike to send a letter or the scrolls directly without any hesitation? I think that's the ones most likely that she did before Twilight left the Canterlot, that she informed her student if she needed to contact Celestia, just using Spike's fire ability, she had put a spell on him so that every scroll that she wrote in Spike's fire was sent directly to her personally. Or the second possibility is that Spike was just basically born with this ability. And even that it seems that he was born with it, sorry, and that he was trained by perhaps by both Celestia and Twilight during the time how to use his ability, how to manage to control it. Just think about it in the beginning, right after that he hatched, and that he tried to send a scroll perhaps from Twilight to Celestia, and instead end up from Celestia, perhaps gonna send up somewhere else, maybe in Trottingham, perhaps even Maidhaddon or some other places. So even if the Spike, sorry, but even if sorry, even though Spike were born with this ability, it would be very unique of him if he was the only dragon, because even from the first season of the show, we didn't see much any dragons, except for a few episodes, but there weren't much any interactions for a long time. That was until Dragon Quest when we saw more about dragons and afterwards. Even we've seen that every dragon has ability to breathe fire. But Spike, though, if he was the only one to be this ability to breathe fire, where did he get it from? I mean, even if he was born with it, could it be a possibility that his parents, either his mom or dad, or perhaps even both, had this ability to do so, without they know it? But that can't be confirmed because for one reason, we don't know much about Spike's parents or his background's origin before Twilight hatched his egg. So, otherwise from that, so if there was a possibility in the second theory part that Spike was the part that was born with this ability and that he's only one perhaps inherited from his parents, that is just one problem since we don't know anything about his parents or anything about his background before Twilight found him or hatched him. So otherwise, that possibility might be slightly about that, but then let's focus on the third possibility. If every single dragon has the same ability. Well, if it was true that every single dragon in Equestria, or at least in the show itself, has the same ability, we probably would have seen then, if there were, for example, if that happened, sorry, and if that did happen, whoa, sorry, oh no, and I'm not sick, I just coffee, so nothing serious. But anyways, if that was true that every single dragon has the same ability as Spike, so why didn't we see that disability later on in the show, like from Amber to Twilight or something else? For example, in the episode when the old young six were trying to send a letter to their parents or their little guardian to be able to help to find a way after they learned about the fate of the Tree of Harmony. That if it was true that every single dragon did have this ability, Smolder could just use the same ability to send a letter um, to Amber from Ponyville, and then Amber could send it back to her from Dragonlance. But they didn't do that. So, but if it was true that they perhaps even all dragons did have the same ability as Spike, so why didn't Amber or Smolder even use that particular ability? Well, there might be a chance that even if that every dragon has the same ability as Spike, but it is very likely that every single one of the dragons were completely unaware they had that particular ability about using their fires. So, which part of the theory of these three parts might be sound more likely to be happy, more possibility? The first one is that Spike was put on spell after he before they moved to Ponyville. Well, but even we did it was spell. If that was if it was a spell, it was never mentioned. Or this also meaning that spells can have sometimes a very short limit of times uh, limit how long they will last. Some of the work can last for days, months, weeks, or perhaps even centuries. But if there was a spell put on Spike, we don't know how long it would last on Spike. Perhaps Celestia had to put the spell the same thing, had to repeat the same spell on Spike over and over until Twilight was able to use the same spell on him. But in the same time, though, it's very not unlikely that could happen. Because what happens if Twilight forgets to use the same spell on Spike and then he sends the scroll to Celestia, but instead of sending it, he just burns it up completely. And Celestia never gets it. I mean, from that point, it might be a possibility. So, but from that view, that from my beliefs, the spell part was probably unlikely, and that Spike part when part 2, theory 2, of that he was simply born with this ability, and that he was the only unique one of anyone else of all dragons. Well, it could have been. I mean, there are a few creatures in the world we live in some has can be born with some unique ability, like chameleons, for example. They are probably the only ones of the reptilians that can change colors, and some other creatures. But still, even he did was even he do that even he was born with this ability. It doesn't even means that he was only one though. Perhaps he did actually have this ability from his parents, but which we can't confirm because we have nothing to go on from that part. So even with Spike being born with this ability, perhaps, but it seems to be very much a little bit unlikely from that part. But if I have to say, the other one most seems to be likely that could be most likely is that every single dragon had the same ability as Spike. But even if every single dragon did have the same ability, but it can also be that they are completely unaware about this ability until only Spike find out that he was younger, and that perhaps he didn't even tell Smolder or Amber or any other dragons about this ability. Perhaps he didn't Perhaps he didn't tell any other dragons about this ability because he thought because he thought maybe that every dragon already knew about this and perhaps going to use it. But if I have to say though, that the idea of the possibility is a strong one, but there might be some flaws in it. I mean, Spike maybe never told any other dragons that they can use the fire to send scrolls to basically anyone. Or that Spike could have also used to be the only one that of his kind that can use the same ability. Perhaps. So even if Spike did have children of his own, would they be inherit the same abilities as Spike? It is a very strong chance in that, yes. But anyways, the only part of this theory video that's two most likely that could have been true. That is that Spike was simply born with this ability, or that every single dragon has this ability, but just they were completely unaware of it. Anyways, if you have your own parts or at least theories or at least or opinions about this, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Switch Diablo over and out.